Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So I'm really excited because today I am doing another book review buddy read with my friend Black Acre Doe. And today we will be talking about Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak. I hope I said that right. I have a feeling I did not, but there you go. As always, it's still a little hot outside, so I do have my AC on, primarily to keep my dog cool because it is real toasty up in this apartment in some rooms, and then very, very cold in others because of where the AC unit is, so that is why you hear that, and yet that is also why I'm wearing a hoodie. Speaking of this hoodie, this was actually a gift from Black Acre Doe. This is the Houdini My Chemical Romance sweatshirt, and it seems so fitting to film this video with this because I just did a collab buddy read with Black Acre Doe, and I just saw My Chemical Romance live. I saw their Sunday show, the September 11th show, here in New York. I've had the tickets for, I believe, 2 years and 9 months to see this show. For those of you guys who do not know, My Chemical Romance is my all-time favorite band. I have 2 My Chem tattoos. I've seen every single tour that they've done since I was 17 years old, which is not hard to do because there have only been 3 of them. But they are my favorite band. I was so excited when they announced the reunion show, when they reunited to begin with, and I bought tickets the day they went on sale, and it took 2 years and 9 months, thanks to the pandemic, for me to finally see them again, and it was everything I wanted it to be. They played 8 songs off of 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, and 4 songs off of Bullets, and it was just such an old school throwback, die-hard My Chem show, and I am so happy. They are amazing live. They're even better live now than they were back when I was a teenager, and I am just ecstatic. And just thanks again, Black Acre, for this, because I love this sweater and I wear it all the time, and it's so dope. And I just really appreciate you knowing how much of a fan I am and sending it my way. So if you guys do happen to have tickets to My Chem, or if you've already seen them already, then you already know, but it was amazing. The tour is amazing. I'm so happy they're reunited. I hope they keep touring. I don't even care if they ever release music again. I just love that they're a band again and out there performing and putting on one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. So that is that. That is my fangirl moment. But let's talk about Hidden Pictures. So I actually hadn't heard about this before. But Black Acre, who his channel will be linked down below, along with his video review of this book, he suggested we read it. And I read the inside flap, which I'm going to read for you guys right now, and thought it was a really interesting premise. So it says, fresh out of rehab, Mallory Quinn takes a job in the affluent suburb of Springbrook, New Jersey, as a babysitter for Ted and Caroline Maxwell. She is to look after their 5-year-old son, Teddy. Mallory immediately loves this new job. She lives in the Maxwell's pool house, goes on nightly runs, and has the stability she craves. And she sincerely bonds with Teddy, a sweet, shy boy who is never without his sketchbook and pencil. His drawings are the usual fare: trees, rabbits, balloons. But one day, he draws something different. A man in a forest dragging a woman's lifeless body. As the days pass, Teddy's artwork becomes more sinister, and his stick figures evolve into more complex, lifelike sketches well beyond the ability of any 5-year-old. Mallory begins to suspect these are glimpses of an unsolved murder from long ago, perhaps relayed by a supernatural force lingering in the forest behind the Maxwell's house. With help from a handsome landscaper and an eccentric neighbor, Mallory sets out to decipher the images and save Teddy, while coming to terms with the tragedy in her own past before it's too late. So I know it says so in the inside flap, but I didn't expect the supernatural element of this book to be as prominent as it was. When I read these kind of like whodunit murder mysteries, I always kind of expect it to be more rooted in reality. Not that I dislike the paranormal, but I don't think I really expected the paranormal to play as big of a role as it did in this. But just knowing that, just so you guys know that going into it. But I did really, really enjoy this book. This was a 5-star read from me. Looking back, I do feel like this should be a 4-star read from me, and I'm going to get into why. But one of the #1 things that I really, really loved about this book, and I know that Black Acre loved it too, was all of the different drawings that went alongside the story. The story cannot be told without the drawings, and I thought it was just a very, very unique kind of device. And we do see a progression in the drawings and the style, which I thought was really awesome. And I just really enjoyed how unique this whole structure was. And the artists behind this were absolutely incredible. And I just loved the two mediums or media coming together to create and to pretty much paint the full picture of this story. The story overall is extremely plot driven, which 9 out of 10 times is not my thing. I really love character development and like metaphors and kind of a little bit more meaning behind the tale instead of just this is the story, this is how it goes. However, for Hidden Pictures, I think it actually worked, and I actually found that the more depth was added to certain characters, the less I cared about the book, because I was just so invested in solving the mystery and finding the plot. And I think this is where the drop from 5 stars to 4 stars should really come in, because I did find Mallory Quinn, our main character, and the vast majority of her friends to be extremely one-dimensional and extremely unnecessary to the plot. I felt like Mallory could have been replaced by just any generic teenager. Her backstory added very little to the plot, even though it was a tragic backstory, but it kind of felt like it was just there to put a story, but to put a backstory there for the character. I don't think it did too much to help the mystery unravel, to the point that I just didn't care for her as a character, because to me she was just like a placeholder. And the same with her friend Adrian. He had very, very little, like, the weird, like, romance that they might have budding. I just didn't care. I didn't buy it. It didn't add anything to the story. That being said, I read the last 200 pages of this book in one sitting because I needed to know what happened. And when the twist happened, I was fully blindsided. There's kind of 2 major levels to the twist. The first one I did kind of figure out because I felt like it was obviously laid out as it was unraveling, to fully blindside you to the second half of the twist. And I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was creepy. It added just all of these different levels of disturbing to this novel. And I feel like if I was to reread it now, knowing what I know, I would be even more creeped out and disturbed with the beginning half of the book. So that is where my gut instinct was to give this a 5-star read, because I didn't want to put those last 200 pages down. And whenever I get that way with a book, they're almost, as long as the ending satisfies me and doesn't fully disappoint me, they're almost always going to be guaranteed a 5-star read. If I am that compelled to devour a book in one sitting, or at least try to, and I read this book in I think 3 sittings, because it took me a bit to get to like page 150, but once I get to a point where I'm like, I need to finish this book right now, that's when I know it's good writing. And again, very compelling, very interesting, very alluring plot. Lots of like little red herrings here and there, but the fact that I was fully blindsided by the major twist of this novel really kind of kept me on the edge of my seat, and I really wanted to know what happened, and I did not find the book to be anticlimactic. I feel like sometimes you get in these books, like, you finally get to the resolution and then it's like, and then everything was fine and better, you know. This one I felt like it was just the perfect pacing to get there. My only real qualms about the pacing, honestly, was the epilogue. I really didn't care. I don't think it was needed. It was kind of a nice way to wrap the story up in a little bow, but again, it paid so much attention to Mallory and Adrian, and I just don't care about them as people. This book gave me no reason to find them compelling or interesting. Like, their flaws were very little. Yes, Mallory is a recovering addict, but that is literally her only flaw. And I don't like reading about pretty much perfect characters. I find that they lack the depth and they lack believability, and that is the one thing that I found very strange about this. That being said, however, 3 people in the family, the mother, the father, and their child, were freaking awesome to read about. I really loved trying to figure out who Ted and Caroline were. I thought they had such interesting developments, and the way they were written about really helped spur the plot on. I'm trying really hard not to give anything away. And I found Teddy to be a really compelling little boy. It's interesting when you read a novel like this. I find kid characters, just like I do in film, can be very annoying sometimes, but I really liked the development and characterization of Teddy. And as far as like creepy kids who might be talking to ghosts go, I thought it was a very believable version of it. Like, just enough so where like maybe the parents don't realize it's happening, but like the more like work obsessed, almost absent parents wouldn't realize it's happening. But the babysitter who is always there definitely would. I really liked how that unfurled, and I thought it was very, very well written. But this is a book I do think that is held up primarily by the twists and turns and just the absurdity of the plot. While this is probably something that has happened before in real life, when you read about it and you'll figure out exactly what I'm talking about, there was also just elements of it that made it like kind of absurdist to the point where I'm like, that would never actually happen. And again, primarily there are so many moments where I'm just like, Quinn is a terrible, terrible, terrible babysitter. Mallory, sorry. I just finished Clown in a Cornfield too, and the main character's Quinn. Her name is Mallory Quinn in this book. So I'm like all over the place. But Mallory is a terrible, terrible, terrible babysitter. My parents were super, super picky with babysitters when I was a kid, and babysitters got fired for a lot less when I was growing up, and Mallory does some very intense, questionable things. And the fact that she like lives there as like a live-in nanny, and doesn't get fired on like 8 different occasions, I was like, the hell is this? And then they try and explain it away as like a plot point, and I'm just like, no, like, any decent parent would still fire this babysitter, and the only reason this babysitter isn't fired yet is because plot armor. So that was a big issue that I did have with this novel. I know that, well, Blackacre actually read this way quicker than I did. Like, he also devoured this book, but he did, I believe, give it a lower rating than I did. I'm going to let him speak on his behalf for what he thought of the book. But, I don't know, I was just so captivated by the fact that I needed to finish the plot. But I think we both agreed that these characters were very, very one note. So definitely not a strong character read. If that's what you're interested in books, this is definitely not going to be that for you. Again, very much a, like, whodunit, twisty turn novel. And I know that the twist got Blackacre as well, so it's always fun when neither of you can figure out the twist, and then you're both just like, oh my god, I can't believe this happened. Like, just spiraling through this whirlwind. But yes, very, very fun, interesting book. I would say this is like, this is such a great term, even though it's not summer anymore, but this is like a beach read. This is a great book to like take on vacation and like relax with, and just dive into, because while some of it is disturbing and it is scary and it is supernatural at times, it's still just kind of a fun whodunit. It almost reminds me of like a really intricate Law and Order SVU kind of episode. Also, please excuse my nails, I know they look like trash. Yeah, that's probably the best way I could phrase it. A very compelling SVU episode. Like, if Olivia Benson like showed up as the detective, I would have been like, ah, awesome. Oh my god, actually that reminds me of something else. This is one other criticism I had with this book. There's like an entire plot line that's like a full red herring in this story, that if Mallory had just spoken to another character for like an extra 10 minutes, wouldn't have needed to happen. And when I found that out, I was like, oh, come on, like, you wrote so much and got me so invested in the storyline, and it could have been avoided 100% if one interaction was just a little bit longer. And it just felt kind of cheap, and it bothered me so much. Now that I'm thinking about it again, I'm just like, the character that Mallory's talking to even like hints to her, like, I know more, and Mallory's like, meh, whatever. You know, and it just kind of grinds my gears that happened, because I almost wish that like the conversation that these two characters had been interrupted, or had been like stopped, or they had no other way of communication again, because it was just such a blatant missed opportunity, and I just don't feel like somebody would have allowed that opportunity to like pass them by. But regardless, very fun, very interesting, again, very plot driven, but I had fully enjoyed reading this book. I got so much fun out of it, and the paintings and the drawings are so disturbing, and they're so creepy, and I love how they just, like I said earlier, just unravel and develop, and how all of them come back to mean something else. I thought it was brilliant, and I'm gonna stick with my 5-star reads. Yeah, there's a lot of flaws in it that probably would bring it down to a 4-star read normally, but I just had so much fun reading it that I will keep it at the 5 stars. Anyways, again, all of Blackacre's info will be linked down below. Check out his channel, especially if you are fans of like Slipknot or learning guitar. He does a lot of really cool covers on his channel. He's my favorite person to do buddy reads with. We have a very, very similar taste in books. So if you like my channel but you're into more extreme stuff, take a look at his channel as well, because he does read some darker literature than I do, splatterpunk as well, which is very rarely found on my channel. But if you're looking for somebody who has similar tastes in those kind of storylines, definitely check his channel out. His book reviews are awesome, and he's a great friend of mine. Anyways, as always, I post every Monday and Thursday, sometimes on Saturdays. And if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe buttons down below, and I will catch you all in the next one. Mwah.